Welcome to the Human Nature Channel. I'm your host, Alex Tamsula, and what am I doing here besides playing with this thing? Well, it's Tuesday night once again here at my dad's inspiring farm garage. I like the word inspiring. I don't think it's an exaggeration. Besides being home, this garage is a sensory-rich environment, which I hear is good for your brain. And the one thing about this garage I really love is it's got electrical outlets all over the place. This is great. If there's something in some corner or some nook and cranny I want to get on video, then I at least have the outlet so I can plug in my camera's adapter and the lights. At the very worst, one extension cord away. And then I can set up my lights with my funky 3-to-1 ratio and just go to town. Inspiring? Yeah. Because you got to understand, when it comes to the Las Vegas shooting, the wheels in my head are always turning. It really never stops. There's not an hour of the day that doesn't go by that I don't think about the Las Vegas shooting. I uploaded my latest video today. It's called Odds and Ends, and I'm still buzzing from the effort that went into putting that up. Basically, I work until I run out of time, and then whatever I got, I'm going to upload the thing. But I was looking at the lock interrogation report in that video, and I'm still thinking about the thing. It was kind of fascinating because the question is, why is Stephen Paddock in this flurry of activity with the doors, opening and closing them, running the wrong key card through the lock and then the right one, and then engaging the deadbolt and then unengaging the deadbolt? If his door had one of those chains that you can open the door just a little bit and see what's outside, he'd be playing with that thing too. Now, this weekend I was watching Hunter UK's video, the latest one he did. I was listening to Daniel James's video, and I think it might have been James who said that, well, Stephen Paddock is exhibiting OCD behavior. Maybe, but that would imply that he's not in control, because that's kind of a compulsion sort of thing. Here is a guy who had his plan, and it was meticulously worked out. So I'm wondering if Stephen Paddock, this smart guy, wasn't thinking a couple of steps ahead of us. As in, yeah, I know all this crazy behavior is going to show up in the hotel's database. There'll be a digital record of it. And if somebody has to do a printout of everything I've been doing, that's possible. See, here's the funny thing about what Paddock is up to in the lock interrogation report. He's creating blind spots. And I tend to think a smart guy like him is creating blind spots deliberately. He's trying to obfuscate something. I'm not exactly sure what it is. Maybe he has this warped sense of humor and he's just playing with it, with our heads, like he knows that some guy like me is going to sit down and actually try to sort this stuff all out. But I'm not so sure if he can't help himself. He has a reason for doing what he's doing. I just don't know what that is yet. Okay, enough of that for now. I like to say there's always something interesting here in my dad's garage. I'm also going to say there are interesting things outside my dad's garage. What can I show you from earlier today? 100 or so yards down the hill from the garage is a pond, an honest-to-goodness farm pond. It was here when we moved to the farm in 1962. It's a man-made pond put in by the Fish and Game Commission to slow down soil erosion. The Fish and Game Commission also stocks it with bass and bluegill. The bass I'll eat. I've actually caught my lunch out of there. Now what we have here is the overflow pipe to the pond. You have to keep that thing plug free of leaves and algae, or else water would go over the west side and wash the bank away. Then all you would have is a big muddy hole on a slope. As we look up, we see a stand of pine trees on the east side. Dad planted these trees not long after we moved here. One more effort to keep the runoff to a minimum. Here we have a picture of the outside of the farm garage. Yes, that is a parking meter to the right side of the door. My dad can be such a cut-up sometimes. And lastly, what we have here are some shots of western Pennsylvania farm country in the fall. I gotta say, it is pretty nice up here. I don't mind the once-a-week hour drive up knowing this is waiting for me. Well, I think I have everything I need. I happen to have a very small cannon. Oh, that's better. Yeah. Okay, we got Irv here. All the way up here in the car, he just kept complaining that I haven't been listening to Morgan Freeman and checked to see if my airbags are part of the recall. You might rear end a garbage truck, he says to me. I'm like, Irv, switch to decaf, will you? Now, what do I have here? It looks like, oh, some kind of Egyptian urn, or maybe even earlier, like Sumerian or something like that. Something in there. Oh, it's the handle. Hey, I didn't do this. All right. We happen to have a Russian doll. The kind of doll that has a doll inside and a doll inside and then a doll inside. What's that, Irv? Does she have a sister? There you go. I don't know, I think she's a little young for you. Anyway, let's pick this up back at the apartment, shall we? We're going to begin by covering some Las Vegas Shooting Truth community news. However, it's not the news I thought I was going to be giving. Here it is, 5x5 News. Mike Turber's YouTube channel has been taken down. I, for one, am not happy about this. I consider Mike a friend. He's been good to me by praising my YouTube channel in his live chats. I've gotten subscribers thanks to him. All I can say to the people who seem to have made a concerted effort to silence Mike is, I hope you know this means war. Let me explain how this all came about. When I got home Wednesday, I went to YouTube and saw Mike had 2 new videos in the queue. Both were about this. Somebody had sent Mike information about Paladin. These were residency records. Paladin, or whoever he is, once lived in an apartment building in Marina del Rey, California between 1980 and 2003. To my utter surprise, it turns out we see in other residency records that Stephen Paddock lived in the same apartment building for 6 years, from 1992 to 1998. Mike even shows us an email exchange between himself and Paladin, where he asked Paladin, more or less, if this was true, whether he knew Stephen Paddock back in the day. Paladin was evasive and gave a bunch of non-answers, things like, ask Eric Paddock. Mike said he did, and apparently Eric didn't know anything about it. Still, I thought this was huge news for the Las Vegas Shooting Truth community. Whoa, Paladin has been holding out on us, or some of us? I was even going to say this was a shift in the balance of power in our community, which has pretty much devolved into the Hatfields and the McCoys. Then I get up Thursday morning to rewatch Mike's first Paladin video, just to make sure I had my facts straight. And to my surprise, I saw the message, this account has been terminated because we received multiple third-party claims of copyright infringement regarding material the user posted. This happens a day after I see Mike spilled the beans on Paladin. You're going to have a tough time convincing me there is no connection between Mike exposing Paladin and 5x5 News getting taken down. I have seen this sort of thing before. 3 years ago, Lionel over at Lionel Media had his channel hit with an infringement of copyright claim. Lionel challenged it, successfully I might add, but in the month's time YouTube took to review the claim, Lionel was prohibited from live streaming, and if you know Lionel's channel, live streaming is what he does for the most part. It put a crimp in his cash flow. And Lionel is a lawyer, so he probably had some idea where the line is when it comes to infringement. Lionel in other videos said this was a bogus claim made by somebody who just wanted to screw with him. Now, if somebody is ripping off your material on YouTube, sure, there should be some process in place where you can take steps to stop this from happening. But there is a world of difference between a way for people to protect their content versus weaponizing the copyright claim process to fuck with somebody you don't like. I don't know exactly what happened to Mike's channel because I haven't been in touch with him. I don't know what terminated because of multiple third-party claims even means. Did Mike receive warnings prior to this, like they did in the old days on YouTube? It used to be you got 3 copyright strikes before YouTube brought the curtain down. Well, I guess not anymore. Were these claims made over time and therefore cumulative, or did they all happen on one day? And what exactly did Mike post that infringed on somebody else's copyright? Recording somebody else's live stream and commenting on it? I do a live stream every time I take a piss. This is bottom of the barrel tactics. Mike did news about the Las Vegas shooting truth community, and I wouldn't even know who that idiot Joe Roscoe was if it wasn't for Mike. Not that I'd waste any of my precious time listening to somebody like that. Mike was doing legitimate news and should be protected under the fair use doctrine. So, I'm saying it's pretty clear Mike has been hit with a bogus claim by people who have probably used other people's copyrighted material for their own purposes and gotten away with it because nobody bitched. When you see all the copyrighted music that gets put in LVS videos that never get taken down, you almost have to laugh. No, what's happened to Mike is the result of dishonest, hypocritical people. I watched a lot of Mike's videos, and other than streaming somebody else's live stream while streaming his own, I can't see where he infringed anywhere. No, the timing is too coincidental. Mike most likely has been taken down by rat bastards not because he stole anybody's material, but because he exposed Paladin for being some kind of a shit. Now, if I know Mike, he's not taking this lying down, and I hope he's going to YouTube to dispute these claims. I found 5x5 News to be an excellent resource for solid information on the Las Vegas shooting, and a serious antidote to all the bullshitters out there, and there's a lot of them. Mike is not a conspiracy theorist. Mike is about things that are tangible, and not about how some blurry photo of a man holding a stick means he has to be a shooter on the ground. Not about how flashing lights in the sky must mean the Saudi Air National Guard is hiring Pakistanis to shoot country western fans from helicopters in Las Vegas because they couldn't assassinate Mohammed bin Salman, who supposedly was in Vegas somewhere. When you put it that way, I still can't believe how stupid it all sounds. What? MBS is at the concert and says to his bodyguard, "Hold my beer"? Get the fuck out of here. Mike Turber made the Las Vegas shooting truth community interesting. He was the closest thing we had to honest-to-God hard-boiled detective sleuthing. Also, Mike has skin in the game. You have skin in the game when you risk something. He risked his channel on YouTube. The people who dogpiled him with their bogus shit don't have skin in the game. Nobody is going to dogpile their worthless channels because they don't risk anything and didn't have anything valuable to risk in the first place. Mike, I don't know what you're planning when it comes to fighting the anti-free speech assholes, but good luck with it. They just didn't insult you. They insulted everybody who subscribed to you. If they think we're idiots, they've got another thing coming. Next, we're going to talk about Paladin holding out on us. Here is a comment thread between me and Eric Peters on the issue. Eric is, by the way, the best sounding board a YouTuber could ever ask for. Talking about Paladin, Eric says, it puts his motivation to get involved in the Las Vegas shooting investigation into question. Me, sure does. Paladin was one of the first people I listened to when I started watching videos on the Las Vegas shooting. Goodman had him on, and I remember thinking this Paladin talks a pretty good game. I subscribed to his channel. I thought the opening animation was pretty slick. Then it became clear he wasn't going to be doing a lot of videos. At one point he said, "I have to go dark for a while." He did a good job creating suspense while hinting at big revelations to come. Keep him hanging on for more. He talked about a grassroots campaign to raise people's awareness of the Las Vegas shooting, getting them involved in an effort to petition the U.S. Congress to reopen the investigation, something I could get behind. It's the American way, after all. But whatever became of that? Nothing. I should have gotten suspicious right there because Paladin never delivered the goods the way Mike Turber could. I came to the conclusion Paladin is just another guy hopping on the paranoia gravy train with Goodman, taking cash out of a particular type of audience, willing to swallow the most outrageous claims without any tough questions being asked. It's showbiz. Goodman in a big way, and Paladin and Cullen somewhat, are making low-budget exploitation horror movies. They're cheap hustlers. I stopped taking any of them seriously. Even my silent partner laughed at the name Paladin. He calls himself that? What does he think he is, some kind of white knight? I forgot to tell my partner about the picture Paladin uses. Now, thanks to Mike, we find there is this murky depth to Paladin. Paladin for 6 years being an apartment house neighbor with Stephen Paddock? A mind-boggling coincidence, and I'm not particularly fond of using coincidence as an explanation for anything. It's like my plantation, Squirrel Hill axe to grind with Laura Loomer, where we're looking at proximity and astronomical odds again. And I can't help thinking there is something sinister going on we are not party to. Just as an aside, Goodman got his start as a cinematographer in the movie business. Go all the way down to the bottom of the rabbit hole and you're at what? Grumman's Chinese Theater? Actually, I think Paladin, like John Cullen, is only a symptom of something more troubling, and that's passive-aggressive frontman Jason Goodman himself. Somebody is bankrolling his paranoia gravy train, and I'm starting to have my doubts this money comes from individuals, unless it's millionaires or even billionaires. Maybe groups with an agenda sending money through a lot of hands and finally finding a home at crowdsource? Question mark? What a great way to launder money. I think the key to understanding these scumbags is money and jockeying for some kind of influence, which is what any agenda is all about anyway. That's the exploitation side of it. The content is almost irrelevant as long as it shocks. God bless Laura Loomer for being so hilariously obvious about it. In her last fundraising letter for her congressional run in Florida's 21st District, the Muslims are coming, Loomer bragged about getting money from all 50 states. My first question was, who is sending money to this lunatic? Other lunatics? Well, maybe not if Laura is only a rodeo clown. Look over here, El Toro, not over there. If we found a way to trace any of that crowdsourced money back to their sources, we might be shocked. I mean, in a real way. For heaven's sakes, I'm on Laura's emailing list, and that's all the evidence I need that it's about getting money by any means necessary. It's about what sells, and that might not necessarily be the truth. What is really scary about the Paladin/Paddock connection is that this scheming of a weirdly theatrical sort may have been going on for what? Decades? Jason Goodman has got some nerve talking about social engineers. As with all of them, there's the facade they put up, but what's behind it? Eric, that comment could be the script for your next video. Interesting theory about the source of the money. Reminds me of an episode of Breaking Bad in which money was laundered in exactly that way, via donations funneled through thousands of people. I doubt this is the case here, though. The LVS, with its limited audience, is a very poor cause to use in an appeal for money. If making laundering money is the purpose, I'd find a cause with a broader appeal. What if the all too blatant efforts by some creators to monetize their channel are just part of the deception? We all know there is no money to be made with Vegas. The community is too small. Therefore, the monetization could be a fake purpose and or a way to come across as a serious party. But the only real purpose is to disinform. Let me put it this way. Monetization could be a distraction within the distraction, if it is to deflect questions about one's motivation. We've all asked ourselves, why is XYZ doing this? If XYZ is disinfo, creating a fake monetization purpose might be useful. Then critics will attack XYZ on monetization and not look at any other motivation. Alex, guess what? It is part of the script for my next video. Now, don't get me wrong, I didn't mean the Las Vegas shooting truth community itself would be a front for money laundering. Monetization is a separate issue since that would be YouTube approving any of us for advertising, and that's not going to happen. I just meant Goodman and Loomer, who I don't consider really part of the LVS community. They're sharecroppers dipping their toes into the LVS because it's conspiratorial. With the paranoia gravy train market, which Alex Jones cornered long ago, Goodman covers a lot of topics besides LVS. Somehow he makes enough money, through Patreon I suppose, to travel to Thailand so John Cullen can do his big reveal. And Goodman has this pool of potential guests, Paladin and Cullen being in there, with new ones showing up occasionally, and I often wonder how he and they find each other. That tells me there's some kind of cool kids network here, as well as a network of donors. Who are these people? They seem to make sure Goodman and Loomer are not hurting for cash. All I have is Irv with his tin cup, and there's still nothing in it. I think the thing to look askance at is Loomer's run for Congress and her fundraising attempts. And she's been doing things like this with her trespassing stunts where she gets arrested then sends out emails asking for contributions to her legal defense fund. I sent a tweet to Goodman saying Meyer Lansky would have loved Laura Loomer. Oh, and by the way, I got a mass email from Loomer the other day where she is now pushing health supplements, just like Alex Jones. Jones is playing godfather to these clowns. Recently he mentioned Cullen, so I'm kind of done with Alex Jones. He did some good stuff back when on 9/11, although James Corbett at the Corbett Report does a superior job sorting through that mess. Also, I'm not in the habit of calling anybody a disinfo agent because honestly, I don't know what the phrase really means. I'll stick to calling them con men taking candy from babies. Continuing our look at Albert Garzon from my video number 39, Odds and Ends, I learned a few more things about him from my friends Eric Peters and Bob, who has been sending me interesting emails on things related to the Las Vegas shooting. Both Bob and Eric pointed out some strange aspects to Albert's story, which I will get into in my next video. But before that, let me talk about a question that has always bothered me. It concerns the idea of a second individual in the room with Stephen Paddock, especially during the shooting. The question is, if there was a second individual who participated in the shooting, one who has not been identified, how did they get out without being detected? In the farm garage opening to this video, I talked about Stephen Paddock playing with the locks to rooms 32-135 and 32-134, and I equivocated over what Paddock was really up to. I stopped short of saying this was a period where Paddock could have let somebody into or out of his room because, honestly, I just don't know. According to the lock interrogation report, the deadbolt is thrown at 9:36 p.m. for room 135 and 9:47 p.m. for room 134, 18 minutes before the shooting began. Nothing happens with the doors from that point on until the breach of 32-135 at 11:20 p.m. If there was a second individual in with Paddock during the shooting, there is no indication anywhere that they left through the doors of either of the hotel rooms. Mike Turber, who has seen the ventilation ducts in a room similar to 32-134, has ruled out the possibility that somebody could have fit through the ducts because they are too narrow. So that leaves only one possibility. They left through the window, possibly by rope. But again, how could that even be possible without being seen? Well, I do have one idea. Let me show you a short video that raises an intriguing possibility. Could some human fly in a cloak like that have made it to the ground without being seen and gotten away? All I can say is it's the only way I can picture how a shooter other than Stephen Paddock could make an escape. The future is now. Wow. More food for thought as the mystery deepens. Anyway, that's it for this week. I'm heading up to the farm tomorrow, and hopefully I'll have new things to tell you next time. Have a good one.